There is Kingsville. This is just north of Sheffield Center. You see there are 3 accidents. This is in the I-90 eastbound. This is in the westbound lane, and our third accident again in the eastbound lane, all in Ashtabula County. This is probably 7 to 10 miles to the west of Conneaut. You see Conneaut there at the top of the screen, and there are treacherous driving conditions in that area. Our Harry Boomer is reporting in this area. He has said that he has seen at least 2 cars that are overturned in this area. We'll see if we can't get Harry to call in and do a report as well. But what we're going to do in the meantime is just trying to keep you updated. If you know anyone that was going to be heading out that direction, we're talking I-90 heading towards the Pennsylvania border. Things are not great in Lake County. I'm going to pull up another one of the cameras here from, again, the OGO system. Let's take a look at this camera. This is, again, at the Ashtabula County line. That's the camera we showed you before. I'm trying to use that map there, guys, on Mac Mini. And I think we'll get back to that map here. Let's see if we can read that road sign. This is the Conneaut Andover exit is ahead in 1 mile. So I'm assuming our crew here is traveling eastbound on I-90. You can barely see the lanes, but again, multiple crashes according to the ODOT, Ohio Department of Transportation. They have crashes in at least 5 different locations in Ashtabula and Lake counties. So this is yet again, this is what we've been dealing with since the weekend, since Friday. These large bands of moisture coming in off the lake and dumping inches and inches of snow in that region, and it does it all at once. And that's why we are now seeing at least 5 different accidents in that area. If you are just joining us on some of our digital platforms here, we are in sort of breaking news coverage mode here because of the weather. Our first alert weather team is working on this, but there seems to have been a much heavier band that just moved through, and you can see they're approaching Highway 7 there, trying to get to that area of where some of these crashes are. Obviously being extremely cautious, just looking at the speed they're traveling. This is probably somewhere between 10 and 15 miles an hour. That's just a guess. But we're going to see if we can get either Harry Boomer or we know we're working, trying to get from ODOT, Amanda McFarland. She is one of the spokespeople for ODOT. And this is, again, just a really treacherous time. We're seeing these heavy bands come in and how quickly the lanes are getting covered up with snow. I'm going to go back to our OGO map here. I'm going to pull this out just a little bit. You can now see there's Cleveland. But as we get out to the east side, multiple accidents now on 90. And it looks like, let's go to one of these cameras here. I'm going to blow this up. This is I-90 at Dayton Road. And I think those cars are going to be backed up. And in fact, if you notice in the left lane on the left side of your screen, we're not seeing any traffic moving there, which tells me, and that camera just got moved. I'm going to click on this camera a little bit closer to Madison, and while snow is covering a large part of this, you can see traffic is now stacked up at I-90 and State Route 528 is the area we're looking at here So we're going to continue to follow this. Again, we're just trying to get the word out. If you know people that are in this area, somebody may be traveling home late from Thanksgiving, you need to get on the phone and perhaps try and sit this one out, as a heavy lake effect band is impacting Ashtabula County, and it looks like probably the eastern edge of Lake County, and you have to start to feel bad. Take a look at this picture here. This is also on I-90. Traffic barely moving in either direction.
It's also 520. That's our Madison camera.
This is the camera in Madison, so also in Ashtabula County, Lake County area. And we're going to get an update on this. You can see our crew in the 19 First Alert Weather Beast has gotten off. Look at that! Look at that semi. That semi is, I'm not sure if he's in reverse or sliding. I'm going to guess that he saw the traffic on the highway and has decided not to pull into that onto the highway there. And that's just what we're dealing with here. These are the kinds of conditions that we really need to get the word out. Again, another look at the Ashtabula County line. Doesn't seem to be as thick, but that's what happens with lake effect, is it comes in. It's what our weather department calls a squall. It is just a thick band of snow. Another look there in the Madison area. A thick band of snow that lays down 1, 2, 3 inches in a short period of time, and think about what that does to drivers. And this has unfortunately been the story over the last week or so, since last Friday, is that east side has just gotten pounded, Ashtabula, Lake County, by these bands. You'll see our weather beast being very cautious. Looks like they may be trying to get back on the highway, heading towards, and it looks like a truck entrance. Yeah, this looks like they might be headed for the highway there, or might just need to be getting gas in this situation as we wait for some of our updates. Another look at I-90 and the Ashtabula County line, and this is what concerns me, is the pace of traffic here. This is the Madison camera in Madison, Ohio. They are crawling, some trucks electing, you can see on the left side, to just get out of that area in general. But this has been a thick band that got into Northeast Ohio here in the last half hour or so, and has caused at least 5 accidents that we are counting up on the eastern side. I'm going to go back to the OGO map. Every time you see one of those red exclamation points, those are accidents. We can go right up here where we know this was an extremely heavy band. You can see Conneaut on the map there to the north. 3 accidents, and we can zoom in just a little bit further to get a little bit better location. This is as I-90 passes over 193 there in the Kingsville area. So just a ton of bad weather. And that's what we're going to deal with. What we're going to do now is I'm going to bring in our first alert meteorologist. We're going to bring in 19 First Alert meteorologist Erica Page. Erica, are you with me? Yeah, thanks for joining us and jumping in here on our breaking coverage. Walk us through, and then maybe even show us on the radar. I'm going to guess you're using probably Weather 2 here.
Yes.
Walk us through, what is this band? What got created here just in the last half hour?
Yeah, so really we started to see these bands become a bit more persistent earlier this morning. I would say probably around 7, 8 o'clock, but we've just seen them continue to become a bit better organized. And I'll turn up a little bit of a sensitive product on our radar, which kind of allows us to see where some of the lighter flurries may be. And what you're seeing is that as you go out of offshore, out across the lake, you're getting more of these bands, very similar to what we've seen the last couple of days, that just continue to feed into some of this lake effect snow across areas that have already been really hard hit, basically since Thanksgiving. So that part of the forecast has not changed. And the reason for that is we still have a northwesterly steering wind. That northwest wind helping to kind of keep those bands a bit more concise as they impact parts of Eastern Lake, northern Geauga, and parts of Ashtabula County this afternoon. And until that wind changes direction, you're not really going to see this let up anytime soon. So you can expect that you're going to get some of these heavier bursts of snow. If I pause the radar here, anywhere you see some of those darker blue shaded colors, that indicates where that snowfall rate is much higher. You're talking potentially an inch, almost 2 inches per hour if that band doesn't move. And while these bands haven't really been moving a whole lot, they fluctuated a little bit, but not significant to the point where it's alleviating this issue that we're seeing out on the roadways when it comes to visibility, when it comes to some of the snow that's been piling up on some of the roadways. And I have a feeling that those winds really won't change direction significantly enough until we get into the later part of this afternoon to early evening. So we may still have a couple hours where this banding is a bit more persistent. Potentially Lake County gets out of this a little sooner than, say, places across I-90 corridor in Ashtabula County, which is where we're seeing all those significant backups. But this may be tough going here as we go through even that early first half of the evening commute time tonight. So we can't stress it enough. If you don't have to be out in this, avoid it. But if you absolutely have to, make sure you have all the proper gear in your car. We're talking making sure you have a full gas tank, making sure you have your winter storm kit, water, food, blankets, things like that. Because if you do get stuck on the side of the road, you want to make sure you're well prepared to kind of sit it out for a little bit if you need emergency crews to come get you and kind of get you back on the road and to where you need to be safely. So yeah, I mean, this lake effect has been pretty nasty today. I just don't see it changing a whole lot. Yeah, if you look closely, you can kind of tell this band is slowly starting to inch a little farther to the north, but it's so minuscule of a kind of wind shift that it's not enough yet to really carry these lake effect bands up offshore at this point.
And Erica, you've said that this is since Thanksgiving. How many inches are we talking about in some of these areas that over the past 2, 3, 4 days that they've already gotten?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking places like, I believe Perry area had about 46 inches. Saybrook was over 62 inches of snow. I mean, at that point, you're measuring it in several feet. I mean, that's as tall as some people in, some cases. So, I mean, this is really significant. I wouldn't be surprised if with this snow that we're seeing out there right now, we pile on another maybe 4 to 6 inches before it's all said and done. It really just depends on where the band sets up. But I mean, if you stay under one of those more persistent bands, you could certainly get a couple more inches easily within an hour's time frame, just because of how, I guess, what we like to call convectively available a lot of this energy is, kind of like thunderstorms, but in this case, we're talking more of the snow type setup. So you're getting a lot of the energy to help feed these bands, which is what's giving you such high snowfall rates at this point.
And again, one of the reasons we're live this afternoon is because of what's being reported, several accidents in that area. I'm going to bring that map up again here just a second once I can get some of the organization here. Take a look at the area just underneath that OGO logo. That's the Ohio Go. This is run by ODOT, and we can see in this area, I'm going to click on a couple of these cameras and enlarge this. You can see traffic backing up. This is I-90 at State Route 528 with major backups. There's another accident just to the east of that, and we'll get to that in a second. Where'd we go here? Just to the east of that, we'll close out of that. We'll open up another one of these cameras, and I believe that's the same image I can show you here it does clear up pretty quickly. Erica, those bands, they're not super wide, but they are intense.
Yeah, and that's really where you're going to run into some of the issues. I mean, if we can actually measure to see, let's go from where this band starts up through the state line. I mean, you're talking a stretch of about 20 miles that you're going to be driving through some of these snow bands. But it's more intense here, and I can clear this off. It's more intense, say, right here. That's about a 6-mile stretch, which, of course, that's going to pile up traffic. If everybody's starting to slow down, you've got accidents, that's slowing things down on top of it. So it's in these smaller bands within the bigger snow event that we have going on that you're going to really run into that drastic drop in visibility, that drastic kind of noticeable pile up in some of that wet, slushy snow if you're going to be out and about driving on the roadways.
And we're going to stick with this here for a time here. Just, Erica, was there anything that changed? I know this morning things were looking like today may not be that bad, but what changed? What happened this afternoon?
So the challenge with lake effect forecasting, and this is always the case, is when do those winds start to shift enough to that where you're not picking up that moisture out over the lake. We thought maybe these winds would shift a little sooner, which is why we really didn't think that this would be largely a huge issue for us, but we're seeing just a much slower rate of change within those winds. We're waiting on high pressure, so it's basically a system that's building. I'm going to zoom this out here just to kind of give us an idea. It's this high pressure system that's basically building in back here, but the speed at which that system is moving has slowed down a little bit. So the fact that has happened, it's limited how quickly we can get that more significant wind shift that steers a lot of this lake effect snow. So that's why we're saying it may not be until, say, 5 o'clock tonight that we actually start to see drastic improvements. I can actually run us through our future view here as I load the graphic in, just to kind of give you
Erica,
an idea.
while you get that set, I'm going to welcome in Amanda McFarland. She is a spokesperson with ODOT, Ohio Department of Transportation. Amanda, thanks for joining us on short notice. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Let's walk through what are you seeing in Ashtabula and Lake counties based on the OGO map. We're seeing upwards of 5-6 different locations with accidents.
Oh, okay. I was monitoring one crash that was in the westbound direction near State Route 528.
Okay.
When I was looking at some of the traffic cameras out there, the very first thing I noticed is there was reduced visibility due to the lake effect snow out there. So anybody that's going to be traveling in that area, Lake and Ashtabula counties on I-90, they should always be alert for the potential for reduced visibility along that corridor. We routinely see that when we get these lake effect events.
And in fact, I've just pulled up that same camera, the I-90 at State Route 528. We can see the backup there. What can you do? Do you know much about the accidents at this point, or are they considering closing 90? I mean, this is that terrible stretch. There's even a variable speed limit there. That's where you have the digital speed limit signs that when we see these lake effect storms, ODOT goes ahead and reduces the max speed limit. Not that anybody could get to max on a day like today, but walk us through what is ODOT having to consider here?
Yeah, at this time, it is just a restriction out there. We do not have any plans to close I-90. Our snowplow operators have done a great job of keeping up and maintaining I-90 through Lake and Ashtabula counties. It's honestly the visibility, and when it drops that fast, it just takes our crews time to get through there to clear that fresh snow. But we have not had any significant impacts out there that would necessitate us closing I-90 at this time.
Okay, that's the good news. Even we're speaking with Amanda McFarland. She's an ODOT spokesperson looking at the roads, the conditions. Amanda, I'm looking at the I-90 at the Ashtabula County line ODOT camera, and traffic is back up to speed there. That's what's impressive is just 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago when we got on air here, this was a terrible look, and now it's lightened up. That's what happens this time of year.
Absolutely. We see that throughout the day and the night when those lake effect bands set up over that corridor there. And it sounds cliche, and I know I say it all the time, but it's so true that along that corridor, conditions will change mile by mile and minute by minute. It just depends on what those snow bands are doing. And so motorists just have to be prepared by increasing their following distance, making sure they're driving for the conditions. And definitely once you reach that into Lake County where we've got the variable speed limit, if you see that it's reduced, that means there's weather somewhere along that corridor that you need to be alert for. We don't just reduce it here and there for nothing. We reduce it when the weather and road conditions necessitate.
Amanda McFarland with ODOT, we certainly appreciate you jumping on with us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, take care. I'm going to get back to Erica Page just one last time. Erica, as we see these bands come in, they do seem to be shifting a little bit. That's going to happen throughout the day. What should people watch for heading into the afternoon? Oh, maybe they were planning a trip out to the east side. Maybe they were headed to Pennsylvania. Maybe just not the time to do it.
No, probably not. I mean, I would, if you can delay travel probably until, I would say the early part of this evening, that would be better. I'm going to walk you through your future view just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with. And granted, this is not going to be perfect. You can see it's kind of struggling a little bit to pick up where we have some of the snow, but location-wise, it's showing you where we're dealing with some of that activity. As we go through the middle part of the afternoon, Lake County may start to see some bigger improvements by, say, about 3, 4 o'clock, but for Ashtabula County, this may not really happen until we get closer to, say, 4 to 5 p.m. Once we get into that window, any lake effect snow will start to stay out over the lake, and that's because that wind has finally started to shift direction, and it pushes that lake effect moisture out across the Lake Erie. It keeps it away from the lakeshore communities, so that's the good news for us there. In the meantime, it's just kind of waiting. It's that slow waiting game that we have to do with these lake effect setups until we get that wind to shift, and it eventually takes a lot of that lake effect snow back out of here.
Excellent. 19 First Alert meteorologist Erica Page, thank you for checking in with us. We know that it's going to be an interesting afternoon, and boy, what a wallop to the start of winter here as we get into December. It's been interesting.
Yeah, interesting is one way to definitely put that one. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Take care. I do want to go back to that OGO map. At least one of the accidents has already been cleared in this area just to the west of Conneaut. You can see Conneaut in the north there. There had been 3 accidents in this area, now reduced to just 2. We do have some new information from the Ashtabula Fire Department. They confirm that a roof has collapsed at the Lake City plating. They received a call at about noon this morning. The fire department says the roof collapsed yesterday. There were people inside and there were no injuries. They are on site now. So this is on Lake Avenue in Ashtabula. When you get this much snow, and I believe that's so we have the Ashtabula Fire Department back on the scene of Ashtabula plating, Lake City plating, excuse me, in Ashtabula County, or in Ashtabula. The Lake City plating, they received a call at about 12:05 today. And the fire department says that the roof collapsed yesterday. There were no people, there were people inside at the time of the collapse yesterday. There were no injuries, but again, that's been the problem. You get this much snow and it sits on those flat roofs. There's been no chance to thaw or get rid of any of it, and it's proving to be too much for roofs. We will continue to follow this situation. This just really sort of flared up right around 12:15, where we saw multiple accidents all at the same time out in Ashtabula and Lake County, and so we'll continue to follow this. As I've said before, our meteorologists stress the most important and accurate forecast is the next one. So make sure you tune in at 3 o'clock. I would not advise, if you can hold off travel in that area for a few hours. Erica Page said maybe Early this evening, conditions will get better, but it can come in waves and blankets all at the same time. Make sure you tune in to Cleveland 19 News at 3 o'clock when we start 3.5 hours of news and weather. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19. Have a good afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media at Cleveland 19 News.